Today we are beginning a new series through the book of Jonah. And so Jonah 1:1 in the Hebrew says this, Vayihi, and it was, Devar, the word of Adonai, of the Lord, El, which is unto or toward, Yonah, which means dove, or here we know it as Jonah. And so the word of the Lord to Jonah, Vain, the son of Amittai, which is Amittai, and it Lemor, saying, or it says this. And Jonah 1 verse 2 says this, Kum, arise, lek, and go, El, to Nineveh, Ha'ir, the city, Hagdolah, which is great. The Ha right there is the definite article on both of these. They match the city of greatness, or the city that is great. Ukra, and cry out, Aliha, against it, Ki, for, Alta, arisen, or arose, Ra'atam, their evil, Lefane, before me. Continuing our daily reading of Jonah, we read from Jonah 1:3. Vayakam, and arose, Yonah, so Jonah arose, Livrak, to flee. So instead of going to Nineveh, he arose to flee, and he rose to flee to Tarshish, Milfane, from the presence, Adonai, of the Lord. Vayere, and he went down, Joppa, to Joppa, Vayimtza, and found Ania, a ship, Ba'a, going to Tarshish. Vayatan, so he paid Shakra, the price or the fare, Vayered, and went, Va, into it, Lavo, to go, Imahim, with them, Tarshisha, to Tarshish, Milfane, away from the face or the presence, Adonai, of the Lord. And continuing to verse 4, it says this, Va Adonai, and the Lord, Hatil, he sent Ruach, a spirit, Gadolah, which was great, or in other words, a great wind, Al, which is over, Hayam, the waters, Vayehi, and it was, Sa'ar, a tempest, Gadol, a great tempest, Vayom, in the waters, Vahaniah, and the ship, or so that the ship, Chishva, was as if, La, this is the marker, so what was it like? Hashaver, breaking up. Continuing our daily reading of Jonah 1:5, it says this, Vayir'u, and they feared, Hamalahim, the sailors feared, Vayiz Aku, and cried out, Ish, a man, Al, to, Elohev, his God. In other words, and each man cried out to each of their gods. Vayatilu, and threw out, at direct object marker, what did they throw out? They threw out Hakalim, the things on the ship, or the cargo, Asher, Va'anya, which were in the boats, El, into Hayam, the sea, Lahakel, to lighten, Ma'alihim, from them, Vayona, and Jonah, Yarad, went down, El, into Yarkate, into the recesses, Hasfina, of the boat, Vayishkav, and laid down, Vayaradam, and slept. Continuing to Jonah 1:6, it says this, Vayikrav, and drew near, Elav, to him, Rav, the great, Ha, of the Hovel, of the sailors. So the great one of the sailors, or the captain, the greatest of the sailors, drew near to Jonah, Vayomer, and said, Lo, Ma, what is it, Lecha, to you? What is it to you, near them? To sleep, Kum, which is arise. And notice this is the same commandment that God gives to Jonah, which he does not obey. But this sailor says, Arise, Kara, call, El, on, Elecha, which is your God, or Elohecha here, call upon your God. Ole, maybe, Yit Ashet, he will listen. Ha Elohim, the God, maybe the God will listen. Lanu, for us. Valo, and not, Na Oved, we will perish, or we will not die if he listens to us. Do you know what Hagaral means? Well, let's continue our daily reading of Jonah from chapter 1, verse 7, and it says this, Vayomru, and said, each man, all, to Ra'hu, his neighbor. And so each of the sailors is saying to one another, Laku, let us, vanifila, let us cast, or specifically with the nifal, it is here throwing down. Let's throw down. And here's our word, gorlot, which you can see the oats, which is the feminine plural for goral, which is lots. Let's throw down lots. Baned that we may know, bashalmi. This bashalmi is a very complicated word because it is beit, which is in, shin, which is to who, lamed, which is towards, and me, which is who. And so we have in what to who. Or in other words, who has caused, or who is the root of hara'ah, this evil, hazot, this one, the evil, this one, lanu, to us. So in other words, who has caused this evil to fall upon us? Vayufilu, and threw down gorlot, the lots, vayifel, and it fell, hagoral, the lot, all, which is on, Yonah, which is Jonah. Now, what caused the lot to fall to Jonah? I'd love to hear your suggestions in the comments below. How do you use conjunctions, articles, and prepositions in Hebrew? Well, let's take a look today in Jonah 1:8. It says this, Voyomru. And here we see that vav in the beginning. That is a conjunction, and it stands in for and, or but, or then. And so we can see, then said, Elev, to him, Hagitha, tell us, na, please, lanu, for whose, and we can see that lamed here is a preposition, and it is to who, ba'asher, and that beit is another preposition that is in that, or in this, lami, to who, that lamed again is to, it is a preposition. Here we have hara'ah, this is an article, definite article, that hey, which is the, so we have the evil, not just to who is an evil, but to who is this evil that we're talking about. Hazot, and again we have zot, which is this, and hey here is a preposition meaning the, which matches. In other words, to who is this evil that we're specifically talking about. Not just an evil, not just the evil, but this specific evil. Lanu, again we have that lamed here as a preposition, which is upon us. This evil that is upon us. Ma, and what? What is your occupation? Again we have a conjunction here, which is the vav, and a preposition, the mem, which is and from, ayin, from where? Ayin, from where? Tavo, are you from, or have you come? Ma, and where? Eretzecha, is your land. Ve, another conjunction. A, which is, and what? Mizeh, that me, that mem right there is another preposition, which is from ze, from this, or of, people, atza, are you. A lot of prepositions, a lot of conjunctions, and a lot of definite articles in this verse. But let me know, was that clear enough? Is there more to explain? Let me know in the comments down below. So what is Elohei Hashemayim? Let's take a look today in Jonah 1:9. It says this, Vayomer, and he said, Ele, which is to him, to them. And he said to them, Ibri, which is Hebrew. Jonah is explaining that he is a Hebrew. Anoki, I am. Va'et, and to Adonai, and to the Lord, Elohei, the God of Hashemayim, of the heavens. Ani, I, Yareh, I fear. Asher, which, or that, Asa, made, et, the Hayam, the sea, Va'et, and et is the direct object marker. So what else did he make? Hayabasha, the dry land. But I'm curious to know your thoughts. Why is it significant that Jonah clarifies God is the God not only of the heavens, but also of the sea and of the dry land? Leave your comments below. What is the phrase ma'zot? Well, let's take a look today in Jonah 1:10. It says this, Vayiru, and they were afraid, ha'anashim, the men were afraid. Yir'ah, afraid, gedolah, greatly. So they were greatly afraid. Vayomaru, and said to him, Elev, which is to him, they said to him, Ma'azot, what is this? Asita, you have done. Ki, for yad'u, for they knew, ha'anashim, the men knew, ki, for milifnei, before the face, Adonai, of the Lord, who, he, which is Jonah, borak, he fled, ki, for, higid, he told, lahem, them. Are you going to start using mazot with all your friends? Let me know in the comments down below. You ever heard the term ton kyrion theon? Probably not. So let's take a look at it today in Jonah 1:9 in step 2 again. And it says this, ke, which is and, epen. And he said, pros, to atus, to them. This is what Jonah said, doulos, servant, kyriou, of the Lord, ego, I, me, am. So I am a servant of the Lord. Ke, and ton, the kyrion, Lord, theon, God. Ton kyrion theon is the Lord God. To, of the uranu, of the heavens. Ego, I, sevomai, I serve. Hos, which, apoyasen, which made, tain, the thalassen, which is the sea, ke, and tain, the keron, the dry land. Beginner Hebrew vocabulary, Amar. Jonah 1:11, it says this, Vayamru, and they said. Amar is to say or to speak. That yod is the action here. It's forming an action in the sentence. The vav in the beginning is the conjunction, saying and is continuing the narrative, and that u is the direction. So they said to him, alev, which is the to him. They said to him, ma, what, na'aseh, shall we do, lak, to you, vayishtok, and to calm, or that to calm, it's a conjunction right there, that vav, to calm, hayam, the sea, ma'elinu, from before us, ki, for, hayam, the sea, holek, it was wrought, vaser, and was tempestuous. So let me know, have you ever heard the word amar before in Hebrew? Let me know in the comments down below. Simple Hebrew vocabulary for today is yam. This word right here highlighted with the hey on the beginning, which is the definite article, which is the yam. And yam is sea. Well, let's take a look in Jonah 1:12. It says this, Vayomer, and he said, Elehem, to them, Shu'ani, take me up, Va, and Chatiluni, and cast me forth, or throw me out, El, into, Hayam, into the sea, Vayishtok, and will become calm, Hayam, the sea. So if you throw me out of the boat, Jonah says, the sea will become calm. Me'elikim, unto you. Or in other words, the sea will become calm for you. Ki, for, Yoda'a, for I know, ani, I know. Ki, that, Beshali, my sake, for my sake, Hasa'ar, this tempest, Hagadol, this great tempest, Haza, this one, kind of redundant here, but this great tempest, Elikim, is upon you. Why is that? For my sake. Easy Hebrew vocab, ha'anashim. This is the men. So let's take a look at Jonah 1:13 as we continue verse by verse through the book. And it says this, Vayachtru, nevertheless, or and, right there, that vav is continuing the previous story, and rowed hard, ha'anashim, did the men. So the men rowed hard, lahashiv, to bring it, which is the boats, el, towards, hayavashah, which is the dry land, as we looked at a few days ago. So they rowed hard to bring it to the dry land. Valo, but could not, yaklu, they could. Or in other words, but they could not. Ki, for, hayam, for the sea, holek, it wrought, or it was destructive, vasoer, and tempestuous, or stormy, elehem, against them. But let me know in the comments down below, have you ever heard the term ha'anashim? Easy Hebrew vocab, the tetragrammaton, or the divine name. I once had a comment on one of my YouTube videos saying that the Jews worship the tetragrammaton, which was a hilarious misunderstanding of the scholarly term for the 4 letters of God's name, Yod, He, Vav, He, which spell out Yahweh or Jehovah. And so today, as we continue through the verse by verse in Jonah, we have Jonah 1:14, which says this, Vayikra'u, therefore they cried, El, unto Adonai, which is the appropriate or respectful way to say Yahweh. Adonai means Lord. Instead of uttering the divine name, we just say Lord. And so they cried out to Adonai, the Lord, Vayomru, and they said, Ana, please, Adonai, please, Lord, al, do not, na, please, again, they say, please, Lord, do not, please, navda, allow us to perish, va, on behalf of, or in, nefesh, in life, ha'ish, this man's. Do not allow us to perish for this man's life. And that this is the hezeh right there. For this man's life. Va'al. And do not, titen, lay, aleinu, upon us, dam, blood, nekya, innocent, ki for ata, for you. In other words, do not lay this man's blood upon us or find us guilty, Adonai, Lord. Ka asher, as it, hafatzta, has pleased, asata, have done. Or a much smoother translation, as it says in the New King James Version, you, O Lord, have done as it pleased you. Simple Hebrew vocabulary. As you begin to learn the letters, we have this word, Yonah, which is the proper noun, Jonah, or a dove in Hebrew. And so in Jonah 1:15, we see this, Vayishu, and they threw, and what did they throw? Et, the direct object marker, this is what they threw, Yonah. And so the sailors, they threw Jonah, Ve'tiluhu, and cast him forth, or threw him, El, into Hayam, the sea. Vaya'amad, and stopped Hayam, the sea, Mizafu, in her raging. Simple Hebrew vocabulary, Gadolah. In Jonah 1:16, it says this, Vayiru, and they feared, Ha'anashim, the men, they feared, Yir'ah, they feared, Gadolah, exceedingly. And so again, the men here are fearing exceedingly, et, not only to the storm anymore, but now, direct object marker, et, to Adonai the Lord. So they're fearing the Lord because of Jonah. Vayizvachu, and they offered zavach, a sacrifice, la, to Adonai the Lord. And so they sacrificed a sacrifice to the Lord. Vaidaru, and made nadarim, vows. Simple Hebrew vocabulary, shalosha, which is 3. In Jonah 1:17, it says this, Vaiman, now prepared, Adonai, so the Lord prepared, dag, a fish, gadol, a great fish. Notice this does not say whale, but it says a great fish. Not that there would be a distinction between a whale and a fish, but that it is a very big sea creature of some kind prepared by the Lord. Liv lo'ah, to swallow up, et, the direct object marker, what is being swallowed up? Yonah. So Jonah is being swallowed up. Vayehi, and it was Yonah, that Jonah, bem'e, was in the belly, hadag, of the fish, Shalosha, 3 yomim, days, Vashalosha, and 3 lailot, nights.